All rise. Returning to this non-session, the Honorable Timothy Williams presiding. Please be seated.
Thank you, Madam. And let's go ahead and set forth our appearances for the record. We'll start first with the plaintiff.
Your Honor, Will Kemp for plaintiff. Robert Engel for plaintiff, Your Honor. Mr. Parker should be here shortly.
Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. Maggie Federico for plaintiffs.
Good morning, Your Honor. Brianna Spitzler for plaintiffs.
Morning, Your Honor. Eric Pepperman on behalf of plaintiffs.
Morning, Your Honor. Brad Johnson, Tyler Watson, Michael Esposito, and Eric Freeman on behalf of the defendants.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. All right, do we have anything outside the presence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's go ahead and bring the jury in.
I am still waiting on one jury, Your Honor.
Since we're waiting on a juror, Your Honor, I think we can dispense with something real quick. I filed a trial brief this morning. Defense counsel was served with it, and I think we have a stipulation that they will agree not to bring up any of Mr. Brent Mills or John, what's her name? Boyd's misdemeanor criminal history back when Mr. Mills was 18 years old, I think in high school, and paid a fine. Everything was resolved that way, and it's like been 40 some odd years, and Miss Boyd's was like 23 years ago when she was 20, and they're both misdemeanors, and they've stipulated that they're not going to address those issues. I just want to put that on the record if they can confirm for me.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, so stipulated, and that will be ordered.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
Department 16 is now in session. Mr. Presiding. Thank you.
All right, let's go back and set forth our appearances once again for the record.
Will Kemp for plaintiffs.
Good morning, Your Honor. Teddy Parker on behalf of the plaintiff.
Good morning, Your Honor. Robert Eglert on behalf of the plaintiff.
Good morning, Your Honor. Maggie D. Federico on behalf of plaintiffs.
Brianna Spitzler on behalf of plaintiffs.
Eric Pepperman for plaintiffs.
Brad Johnson, Tyler Watson, Michael Esposito, and Eric Freeman on behalf of the defendants.
All right. It's my understanding the jury finally made it. Is that correct?
Time change Monday.
Yes. Anyway, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, we're ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Just for
Thank
the
you.
record, I have Dr. Dat now sitting in the back.
Okay. Is he bringing them in?
All rise to the jury.
Please be seated. Thank you.
All right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you enjoyed your weekend. And it's my understanding we're ready to continue. Is that correct, Mr. Kemp?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd call Steve Watkins to the stand at this point.
Morning, everybody. Happy Time Change Monday. Yeah.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Stephen L. Watkins, W-A-D as in Delta, K-I-N-S.
Thank you.
Please have seat, be cautious.
Okay, thanks.
Morning, Mr. Watkins.
Good morning, sir.
Could you tell the jury where you live?
I live in Henderson.
And how long have you lived in Nevada?
I was born and raised.
Okay. And where'd you go to high school?
Went to Valley.
Can you tell the jury what you do for a living?
I own a home inspection business.
Okay.
Inspector.
Are you familiar with a product known as real water?
Yes, sir.
And when did you start drinking it?
Probably about 2014, 2015.
And what attracted you to real water?
The healthy aspects of it. It didn't, as I started drinking it, didn't make me full when you drink water. I drink a lot of water.
And just in general, how much real water were you drinking approximately?
I drink about and I measure it, I drink about 3 liters a day.
Okay. Did there come a time that you started having some medical problems?
Yes, sir.
And did you have acute liver failure?
Yes, sir.
Approximately when was this?
2018.
And can you give us a better time period?
May 25th, 2018. It was my 33rd anniversary. Wedding anniversary.
Wedding anniversary? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you remember the day, unlike most people?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what happened on that day?
My wife and I went to a spa. And then that night, I was going over to my friend's son's graduation party. I was feeling dizzy. A bunch of Henderson cops and fire department friends said, "You need to go home."
At the party?
Yeah, at the party. See, me and my daughter, we left. When I got home, you want me to continue? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I got home, I just went straight to bed and I couldn't wake up. Well, when I did wake up, I had blurry vision. I couldn't hardly walk. I couldn't talk. It was like I was like in a coma state, but I knew what was going on in my body. It's kind of weird to explain.
And so you went to bed on the night of May 25th?
Yes, sir.
And then you wake up the next day?
Well, I don't know if you want to say wake up. I don't think I woke up until I was in the hospital.
Better question. What happened on May 26th?
So May 26th, I was in the hospital. I was admitted to the hospital. They put IVs in me. They ran tests. I couldn't see, talk. I couldn't walk. My wife had to basically, and another friend, carry me to the hospital.
How did you get to the hospital?
My wife took me.
Okay. Were you checked into a hospital ultimately?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
I'm sorry?
What hospital?
It was Desert Springs. They had a gurney waiting for me.
Okay. And how was it they had a gurney waiting for you?
My wife, a friend of my wife's called and said she knew somebody, this lady knew somebody on the board and said that I was in pretty bad shape, so that's how that gurney was outside waiting on me.
Okay, what happened when you got to the hospital?
They put me into a room, rushed me. They ran tests, a lot of tests.
How long did you stay at the hospital?
I know I was there at least a week.
Okay. And did they tell you what your problem was?
Yeah, I had liver failure.
Acute liver failure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at some point you left the hospital?
Yes, sir.
And then what happened?
So when I got back home, still weak, during this time I lost about 40 something pounds. And we had stairs at the time and I couldn't go up the stairs without help. So then I couldn't sleep. Then right after about 2 weeks, it came back. And I was feeling, I told my wife, I was like, don't take me to the hospital if something happens. You know, because I had a scary part in the hospital, if you will. So
You did not want to go back to the
I
hospital?
did not want to go back.
Did the doctor indicate to you anything as to what was potentially causing your liver problems?
No, they didn't know at the time. They just thought I had a virus. They were guessing.
Okay. At one point, did your wife send an email?
Yes, sir.
And who did she send the email to?
To Real Water.
And what did that email say?
Basically stating that come get your water. Yeah, I'm just ad libbing here.
So let's pop the email up. Shane, can I have the email on, it's P130? So is this email you're talking about, go to the bottom, Shane, please. Bottom. All the way to the bottom. Yeah, right there. Okay, can we get a date for that?
June 20th, 2018.
Okay. And is this the portion of the email that you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
It says, my husband has been in the hospital for 2 weeks and the doctor wants him to stop drinking alkaline water. I can provide that information if you want to see it. See if I'm lying about that as well. I don't need this BS.
Okay.
And Mr. Kent, what exhibit is that?
That is exhibit P30, Your Honor. It's admitted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, after your wife sent this email to Real Water saying that you'd been in the hospital for 2 weeks and the doctor wants you to stop drinking the alkaline water, did Real Water contact you?
No, sir.
They sent an investigator to interview you to discuss your problems?
No, sir.
Send you any flowers or sympathy cards in the hospital?
No, sir.
At home?
No, sir.
And at any time, did anyone from Real Water ever try to contact you to figure out what the cause of your problem was?
No, sir.
Okay. And the date of this email again was June 20th, 2018?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Watkins. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Watkins.
Good morning, sir.
You were in Desert Springs Hospital for 3 days, correct?
That's what you all have been reading, but I was in there longer than that.
Didn't you sign a sworn statement that you were in the hospital at Desert Springs from May 29th, 2018 to May 31st, 2018?
I could have, but I was going off what the hospital says.
Okay. You were never sent to a liver transplant center, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. You were never on a transplant list?
No, sir.
You didn't have any liver biopsies?
No, sir.
Okay. And since you went to the hospital in May of 2018, you haven't returned to the hospital, correct?
That's correct. In regards to Real Water.
Yes, thanks for clarifying that. Now, you have a lawsuit against Real Water, and Mr. Kemp is your attorney, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Kemp asked you to come here today and testify?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Thank you, brother.
Your Honor, we call Dr. Brian Datnow as our next witness.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Ryan Datnow.
Please spell your name.
Datnow.
Thank you.
Please be cautious, that's yours.
Morning, doctor. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Can you tell the jury where you went to medical school?
I went to medical school at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, South Africa. I did an internship in Johannesburg, 6 months of internal medicine and 6 months of surgery.
And approximately when did you go to medical school?
From 1963 to 1970.
Okay. Did you get a degree?
I got a degree.
And what was it?
Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery.
Okay. And did you continue your studies?
I left South Africa in 1972. I went to Boston, where I started my postgraduate training at the Brigham Hospital and Harvard Medical School, specializing in pathology.
Okay, and the Brigham Hospital, that's the Harvard Medical School hospital?
That is correct.
Okay. And you studied pathology?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell the jury in general what pathology is?
Pathology is the study of the tissues and what can go wrong with the tissues. And there are two branches. One is clinical pathology, which is the testing of blood and blood products and other fluids from the body, and anatomic pathology, which is the study of the actual tissue, and that is both biopsies and cytology, which is the study of individual cells.
Okay, and are you board certified in those specialties?
I'm board certified in both anatomic and clinical pathology.
And when did you get your board certification?
1970, I think 1978, somewhere around there.
Okay, and the jury's heard what board certification is, but can you tell them again briefly in less than 20 seconds?
In addition to getting the training, which is a 4-year training, you have to write an exam which goes over 3 days, where they test your knowledge of pathology. And in order to be board certified, you have to pass that examination. And I am board certified. And then I voluntarily did a recertification. Right now you have to do it, but in my day, I voluntarily did recertification and got recertified again.
Okay, and where did you work in the 80s and 90s?
I was in private practice for a while, and then I joined the University of California, San Diego, where I rose to full professor, step 3.
Okay.
So I've been in academic practice I was in academic practice for the last 20 years of my career.
Okay, and what is your primary job responsibility?
My primary job was surgical pathology, where I evaluate biopsies, and also cytology, evaluating cells, individual cells. I was the director of the residency training program. In other words, I was teaching doctors how to become pathologists, and also I was the acting director for a while at the Department of Anatomic Pathology.
Okay,
the whole department.
Okay, you said you evaluate biopsies. Does that mean you look at tissue slides?
That's correct.
And how many tissue slides do you think you've looked at in your career?
Many thousands.
Can you explain to the jury why a pathologist would look at a tissue slide? What kind of things they're looking for?
The surgeon or the attending doctor will take a biopsy or send cells for the pathologist to look at under the microscope to see if there's any abnormality. So they'll provide us with a history of why they're doing the biopsy, and we get other information about the patient, other clinical information, other laboratory tests and x-ray tests and so on. And using all that information, I evaluate and make a diagnosis.
Okay, and have you reviewed various materials in this case?
I have.
Okay, for example, have you looked at Dr. Burke's article that was in the American Journal of Gastroenterology in 2021 about 4 real water victims?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and you've also looked at tissue slides for 2 of the plaintiffs in the case, Vanya Diaz and Carolyn Strong?
I have.
Okay, and you've also looked at tissue slides for a number of other real water victims?
Many.
Okay, and one of those would have been Severin Morales, a 22-year-old month child who was one of the 5 children flown to Salt Lake City?
Yes,
Okay, you've looked at his slide?
I have.
Okay. And so basically, what we're going to be talking about today is Severin's slide, Carolyn Strong's slide, and Vanya Diaz's slide, correct?
Correct.
Have you also looked at the independent pathology report by Aurora Diagnostics with regards to Vanya Diaz?
I have.
And have you also looked at the independent pathology report for Carolyn Strong prepared by the Naval Medical Center in San Diego?
I have.
Okay. And you've also, okay, stop. Okay, let's pop up the liver biopsy slide, Shane. Can you just explain to the jury what a liver biopsy is?
So the liver is a very important organ. It's in your abdomen, in the upper right hand of your side of your abdomen, under the diaphragm. So you cannot feel it if it's normal. It's about the size of a football, maybe a little bit smaller. And the liver is the detoxifier of the body. Toxins get into the body and go through the bloodstream, and it goes into the liver, and the liver detoxifies the blood and excretes the toxins in the bile. So the liver has liver cells which do all the work, and also it has bile ducts and blood vessels. And so it secretes the bile into little channels, and eventually it gets through different channels and gets into the gallbladder, and from the gallbladder it gets excreted into the bowel and excreted in fecal matter.
Okay, and with regards to a liver biopsy, what are they trying to do?
Sorry, what?
With regards to a liver biopsy, what are the doctors trying to do?
Okay, the liver biopsy is getting a sample of what is going on in the liver. So if the doctor suspects that there's liver disease, the doctor will do a series of blood tests to try and determine what the cause is, and if necessary, do a biopsy. And the biopsy is to actually obtain a piece of the tissue. Your Honor, I've brought a little sample that I might be able to show the...
Is that a tissue block?
Yeah.
Yeah, Your Honor, if you could approach and show the jury what...
Let me see if I can find what I did with it. Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
I object, I haven't seen it, Your Honor.
Here, give it to me, let me show it to Mr. Johnson.
I don't know what this is, Your Honor.
It's a tissue block.
It's what?
It's a tissue block.
Tissue block?
We can approach.
Hey, Doctor, can you show the jury what a tissue block is?
So the doctor takes a small biopsy with a needle. It's done to provide minimal damage to the liver. So it's a very thin sliver. Think of a hypodermic needle that goes in and what would go into the chamber. And then it comes to the pathology department. We place it in formalin to fix it, to preserve it. And then the next day it's embedded in paraffin. And that's called a paraffin block. And I'm going to show you a paraffin block. And I'm going to show you what the sliver of the biopsy looks like. See that dark area? That's the liver biopsy. You can take it, yeah. So that with the paraffin wax around it solidifies, and it allows a technician to put it on a special machine called a microtome, and they cut very thin slivers, thinner than a piece of paper. It's placed on a slide, a glass slide, and then stained with various stains that help us visualize the tissue. And then we look at it under a microscope and determine what the diagnosis is. So you will be seeing some pictures of what I see under the microscope. So this is the biopsy and the tissue block that we use. See the little dark sliver? That's the liver biopsy. Thank you.
Okay, Doctor, why don't you take the stand again? Okay, so I think, take the stand here, please. So they take the tissue from the block and they make it into a tissue slide, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, so let's show the jury what a tissue slide looks like, and starting with the Burke article, okay? Shane, can I have, and this is Exhibit 10, Your Honor, it's an admitted exhibit. So this is well, let's go back to the title just to make sure. So this is the article by Dr. Burke about acute liver failure due to real water, and she looked at 4 different patients, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and she's a hepatologist up at Loma Linda, correct?
She is.
Okay, all right. Okay, Shane, can I have the slides, please? All right, Your Honor, may I have Doctor approach and explain to the jury what we're looking at here?
Yes, you may.
Doctor, here's a pointer. And I don't know which one you want to use.
Yeah.
This one seems a little tighter.
Yeah.
This one's
So-
better, ladies and gentlemen, the lower. Okay, go ahead.
So the two main, there's several stains that we use on the tissue to highlight different areas. The main stain is hematoxylin eosin, and that's this pink one with the blue. The nuclei stain blue, the cytoplasm stains pink. But we also use a trichrome stain, which stains fibrous tissue or scar tissue and stains it blue. So the background cells will stain red and the fibrous tissue will stain blue. And
So let's stop. So all this is tissue from the liver, right?
this is all liver.
So you're trying to see potential differences in the tissue.
Correct.
Okay, and the blue you said is fibrous.
That's correct.
Okay, can you explain that a little more to the jury?
Okay, so normally there's an area called the portal area. And I mentioned to you that the portal area has blood vessels and a bile duct. And normally around that portal area is a tiny bit of fibrous tissue, a little bit of blue around the portal area. In this particular case, you can see there's a tremendous amount of fibrous tissue extending out, and we call this bridging, when it's bridging across from one portal area to another. This is a vein in the center of the lobule.
Hang on one second, Doctor. Shane, can we make the top right quadrant a little bigger, please? Just eliminate the other ones. There we go.
Okay, so this is the portal area, which is containing, there's a vein. It's also got an artery and a bile duct, and I'm not seeing them very well in this particular section, but what is highlighted in this particular picture that was in the publication is the increased fibrous tissue, the blue stuff in the portal area, and then also it's tending out like tentacles going from one portal area to another. So this is very abnormal for many reasons. One is too much fibrous tissue in the portal area, which would then choke off the structures in the portal area, the bile duct and the blood vessels. When the bile ducts are choked, the bile can't flow through that and goes into the blood, and that's jaundice. You've heard of yellow jaundice, when the white of the eye turns yellow. That's when the bilirubin or the bile is too high and spills over into the rest of the body. So that's what this fibrous tissue would do in that area. But then it spreads out and goes from one portal to an area to another, and then eventually it forms a complete nodule. And when that complete nodule is formed, that is cirrhosis. So there's stages which I'll talk about, going from normal, 0 fibrosis, to stage 4, which is cirrhosis, which is the end stage.
Okay, so this was a normal liver tissue sample. Would you see any blue?
You see virtually no blue, maybe a little in around the portal area.
So
These individual cells here, by the way, are liver cells, and these are not normal. You can see this is sort of bubbly. This is called ballooning degeneration. So these liver cells are compromised already, as well as this fibrosis means this process has been going on for a while.
okay. So blue is bad
Blue is bad.
because blue shows fibrosis.
Correct.
And the more blue, the more fibrosis.
Correct.
Okay. And then you mentioned a term called bridging fibrosis.
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what that is?
Okay. The unit of the liver is the portal area where it has the blood vessels, vein, artery, and bile duct. That area should be discrete. When the fibrous tissue bridges out and extends out to the next portal area, it's called bridging fibrosis. So if you grade it, this one here, in this particular field, this may not represent the entire liver, it's at least grade 1 out of 4 because of the extra fibrous tissue in the portal area, and at least grade 2 because of the bridging from portal area to portal area, and are going towards grade 3. So this is not showing cirrhosis yet, but this is just one section that was used to highlight what was going on in this child's liver.
Okay, so bridging fibrosis is when it bridges from one port to the other port.
Correct.
And why would the body try to do that? What's the idea?
It's trying to heal itself.
Okay.
The liver has a propensity to try and heal itself, and sometimes that healing can be negative because nodules can be formed as part of cirrhosis.
Okay, and I think you mentioned the term bile duct.
Yes.
Can you show us a bile duct on this?
The bile duct's hidden in here. I can't see it very well in this particular slide because it's enveloped by the scar tissue, so it's being crushed. But there'll be other slides that we'll be able to see.
Okay, and when the bile duct gets crushed by the scar tissue, does it still function like it's intended
It's
to?
trying to function, but it can't. So it does two things. One, it's blocked, and it tries to replicate itself. So it's called bile duct proliferation. So you might see several bile ducts where there should only be one. It's attempting to open up a channel. And the other thing is when it's totally blocked, that's when there's jaundice.
The yellow in the eyes.
Yellow in the eye, and that's because the bilirubin in the blood level has gone up tremendously.
Okay. What is cholestasis?
Cholestasis means bile is static. Static means stopped. So the bile is static in the liver, and it shows up in the liver as little plugs of bile that shouldn't be there because it should be excreted through the bile ducts. So cholestasis means bile has been static. It's blocked. It cannot get out of the liver.
So something has blocked the bile duct.
Correct.
Okay. And is there only one bile duct?
There's each portal area has one bile duct. But as I mentioned, in trying to heal itself, it will replicate and there'll be several, and it's called bile duct proliferation, and that's pathological. That is bad.
And how many bile ducts are there in the entire liver?
Hundreds of thousands.
Okay. Have you studied what hydrazine can do to bile ducts?
I have.
And can you tell the jury what hydrazine does to a bile duct?
Yeah,
It,
Jack, approach please.
All right, for the record, I think one of the panel members has to run to the men's ladies' room, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's fine. And we'll just take a quick, we're not, no time, just when they're done,
Yep.
we'll come back.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected to this trial, or to rewatch, or listen to the report of, or comment on the trial by any persons connected with this case, or by any meeting of information produced by the citizens in newspaper, television, radio, social media. Remember that, very important. And last but not least, my form expressing an opinion on any subject matter connected with this case and the trial in this finest community.
All rise for the jury.
Sir, you can step down, please.
Yeah, doctor, you can step down.
You can step down, please. We can have him go to Andy.
Thank
If he
you.
wants to run to the men's room, that's fine. All right. All right, we can,
Is this Dr.
Diagnosed from now.
Yeah, Doctor, Judge, I have his deposition. They did take his deposition in the other cases. Question. So the first thing you mentioned in your report is that you reviewed the literature relating to hydrazine liver toxicity. That's their question from the previous deposition. And then they say if you go to the materials reviewed and they talk about it. So they clearly understood that it was hydrazine liver toxicity. That's their exact question, Your Honor. So this argument that he's making that, oh, I didn't know this expert was going to talk about hydrazine is just ridiculous. That was his question in the last deposition. Not his question, but Mr. O'Dew or Mr. Kaufman's question.
Your Honor,
yes.
we are bound by the opinions contained in the expert reports. This expert, I guess, could have had plenty of opportunity to address hydrazine in his report. He did not. The other cases are other plaintiffs, other attorneys. I don't know why it's constantly thrown on to us that something in another case occurred. In this particular case, you have his report, Your Honor. What is it, 12 pages or so? Yes, it's 13 pages. It doesn't mention hydrazine whatsoever. Their comment about this other article that they had up there is Exhibit 10 doesn't have a single one of our parties subject to that Exhibit 10 finding, the Loma Linda, whatever this is they have up here on the screen presently. I think they identified it as Exhibit 10. They have doctors who talk about hydrazine causing these issues. They have a hepatologist who's the actual liver doctor, who's Dr. Hudson. This guy is a pathologist. He looked at slides and he opined on those slides and what he saw. He makes no mention of hydrazine, etc. They have experts for that. To the extent that that's redundant or cumulative is one thing. I'm just saying it's not in his report. Clearly. And for that reason, questions linking Diaz and Strong to hydrazine is not within his report in any way, shape, or form. And for that reason, those questions are being stricken. Thank you.
Judge, he didn't address my point, which was his previous counsel, the predecessor, read the exact same report, and I read you the question. So hydrazine toxicity is covered by your report. They knew.
I mean,
what else would he be talking about, Your Honor?
Well, here's, so, I mean, I'm looking at the report. This is my first time having an opportunity to do that. And understand this fact. Reports aren't a substitute for deposition testimony. They're not. In fact, the reports don't even come into evidence. It's utilized under Nevada law to place somebody on notice. I'm looking here, for example, and it appears to me he has a couple opinions. And he, this is what he says here, like with Morales. Final evaluations, features compatible with drug toxin effect. What does that mean? What drug and toxin are we talking about? Hydrazine.
They knew that when they took his deposition.
I mean, and I'm looking here, like with Diaz, it says final pathology evaluation, resolving acute hepatitis suggestive of drug toxin-induced liver disease. Okay, what's the toxin? Right?
No question. They knew at the last deposition.
And I'm looking here, I'm trying to figure out the surprise. Because I'm looking here, it says it, and we know what this case is all about, but he can talk about what the drug-induced toxin would be here. He says it right here. Just because the deposition wasn't taken, it appears to me it's clear. Final pathology evaluation, resolving acute hepatitis suggestive of drug/toxin-induced liver disease, DILI. It's right there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So as far as the objection is concerned, I'll overrule.
All right, time to report back.
Yes, you can.
Number two. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Kemp,
Well,
the exhibit that you put up during Stephen Watkins' testimony, you said P30 was that plaintiff's 30?
Yes.
Okay,
just exhibit 30.
that's what I thought, but okay.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated. Thank you.
All right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, for the record, Mr. Johnson's objection to my question, did you study hydrogen toxicity on the liver slides, is overruled?
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
Okay, so let's pick up with
Dr.
that.
May, continue on.
You got your pointer? Did you study hydrazine toxicity, what it would look like on a tissue slide?
I did.
And what would it look like?
So the first thing is the liver cells are attacked by the toxin. And the toxin, like hydrazine, causes this ballooning degeneration, and eventually these cells die. And when tissue dies, it's replaced by scar tissue. And that's what all this is. So this is a reaction to, for example, these are cells that are still alive. And if you look at these cells, they're the sort of granular areas in here, very clear. These cells are on their way to dying or already dead. And they are replaced by scar tissue. And that scar tissue goes around the portal area, chokes the bile ducts. The bile ducts try and recover and they proliferate, but it's too late, and that is when there's blockage of the bile. And so the first area of toxicity is ballooning degeneration. The cells then die, and that's the toxin. And the studies, I've studied many of these cases where all the things that could cause toxicity to the liver have to be excluded before you can say, yes, this is the last culprit that could cause it. They rule out hepatitis. You can test the blood for hepatitis. You can rule out hemochromatosis, which is an inherited condition where there's too much iron deposited in the liver. There's too much copper can be in the liver, and that would...
Yeah, doctor, let's not rule out things right yet.
Yeah.
Let's stick with what hydrazine toxicity looks like on slides. Does it appear as cholestasis too?
It causes the cholestasis is secondary to the scarring.
Okay, and how about steatohepatitis?
Steatohepatitis is part of the toxicity. There's ballooning degeneration and fat gets laid down. And here you can see these are fat cells. These clear cells are fat cells, and that's steatohepatitis. Steato means fat, and that means the liver has become fatty.
So steatohepatitis is caused by hydrazine
It's
toxicity.
part of the toxic effect.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get into the specific slides, let's have the honeycomb slide, please, Shane. There we go. Now, doctor, can you explain just briefly how the liver functions using this particular slide?
So here's the liver. It's almost the size of a football. As I mentioned, it's under your diaphragm on the right side of your abdomen. This is the gallbladder that's tucked in there. These are called units, hepatocellular units. So this unit has got a central vein, and portal areas are dotted around. And remember I told you vein, which is blue, artery, which is red, and green is the bile duct. So there are all these
So
millions of
when you have bridging, it goes from one
So,
portal.
yeah, so when you've got bridging, when you've got fibrosis tissue going between that portal tract and that portal tract, that's called bridging. And so, just to go back, this is the gallbladder, this is the bile duct. And when the bile is blocked in the liver, the bile doesn't flow into the bile duct and doesn't go into the bowel, and that's jaundice. And that's one of the signs that the liver is failing. So if a complete nodule is formed by the fibrous tissue, that's the end stage, that's cirrhosis.
Okay, and we'll get to the nodules. So doctor, can I have my next slide, Shane? Let's try to explain bridging fibrosis a little better. So fibrosis just means a scar, right?
That's correct.
Like people have scars on their hands, that's just tissue that's scarred up, right?
Correct.
Okay. And some insult, such as a toxin, that's what causes the scarring, right?
You're right. First, it causes death of the cells. Dead tissue heals with a scar. So when the scar develops, it starts around the portal area, and then it starts bridging across from one portal area to another, and that's bridging fibrosis.
And my next one, Shane. Okay. So that's scarring between the portal tracts.
Correct.
Okay. Right. And we're going to talk about the Morales slide in a second. Is bridging fibrosis a typical symptom for a 22-month-old baby?
It is absolutely abnormal in anybody.
Okay. And why don't you have a seat? And could you just explain briefly what periportal fibrosis is to the jury?
Okay. So,
Yeah, that was good, Shane.
yeah. So this is the portal area, and it's just surrounded by all the scar tissue. That's periportal fibrosis. This was what, as I mentioned to you, is bridging.
So when it bridges from one port to another, it's bridging fibrosis.
It's bridging fibrosis.
When it's around the port, it's periportal.
Periportal fibrosis.
It's
That's the first step, is the periportal. Then bridging is next.
Okay. All right. Now let's. I said we move to regenerative nodules. What is a regenerative nodule?
Okay, so the liver has the ability to repair itself, provided it hasn't gone to the end stage. So it tries to form new nodules of liver, and those are called, to regenerate something is to rebuild something. So they rebuild a nodule, and if that nodule is there, it means that regenerative nodule, it is trying to repair itself. There's been severe damage to the liver, and that nodule will be surrounded by scar tissue.
Okay, and the end stage, as you referenced, is 3 or 4.
That's correct. So you've gone from 0, where there's no fibrosis at all, to stage 1, where it's just around the portal area, to stage 2, where it's already going from one portal area to another, the bridging. Stage 3 is when there's extensive bridging, and stage 4, you've got a complete nodule surrounded by fibrous tissue, and that is cirrhosis, end stage.
Okay, let's familiarize the jury with Severn's case. Shane, can I have my next slide, please? So, can you show the jury where you see the regenerative nodules?
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show is, I couldn't show you the good bile ducts in the other picture, but these are the bile ducts. You see these little red things? These are the bile ducts. Now, each portal area should have one bile duct, but these bile ducts are starting to proliferate. These are bile ducts here. They're starting to proliferate. These are the liver cells, and these are very, very unhealthy. They are showing ballooning degeneration. They're dying. And not only is there increased fibrous tissue in the portal area and portal area, it's going from one portal area to another, and it's forming a nodule.
Yeah,
That's a regenerative nodule. The liver is trying to repair itself.
Yeah, excuse me, doctor. For the record, we're talking about Exhibit 423-2. Go ahead, doctor.
Yeah. So here is a nodule. This is the edge of the liver biopsy. I showed you that liver biopsy to show you that it's very small. This is a magnification, but what if we had a bigger piece that went down there, we would probably see more fibrous tissue going around there. So we've got other pictures, I think, of Severin's liver, where you can see how extensive the fibrosis is.
And again, he's a 22-month-old.
Yeah, so firstly, every healthy person should have very little fibrosis around the portal area. For a child 22 months to have this degree of fibrosis is highly unusual.
Okay, let's get the next slide, please, Shane. Which is on the bottom of 7.
Okay, so there is portal area, portal area, portal area, portal area, portal area. All these are portal areas surrounded by fibrous tissue, and here's bridging, 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 and there's a nodule that's starting to form. So,
and the reason we're looking at Severin's slide is so we can compare them later on to Vanya Diaz's and Carolyn Strong's.
correct.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is very severe disease. So again, the blue stuff is fibrous scar tissue. The red stuff are the red cells. That means, sorry, the hepatocytes, the liver cells. And the important thing here is the severe bridging fibrosis. Very, very unusual. It means there's been ongoing damage to this liver.
Okay, now, I think we've covered most of this, right? So,
Yeah, when you've got a complete circle of the fibrous tissue, that's called cirrhosis. So it's a nodule of liver tissue that's completely surrounded by scar tissue. And it stains blue.
And it's irreversible.
Irreversible.
So that means there's not some kind of drug we can give people to get rid of cirrhosis.
No.
Okay. And it has an impact on liver function.
The liver function is severely affected and probably will result in having to have a transplant or have very severe disease, and which will finally result in the patient passing away.
Okay. Now, earlier you mentioned a rating system, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Shane, can I have my next slide, please? Okay, and this is something called the Batts-Ludwig scoring system.
That's correct, the Batts-Ludwig scoring system. So over the years, different doctors have tried to grade the degree of disease in the liver to give the person who's taking care of the patient an idea of how severe the disease is. So the Batts-Ludwig scoring system is now the most popularly used around the world. So if you say, I'm using Batts-Ludwig, this is Batts-Ludwig, and everybody understands what this means. So if there's no fibrosis, that's stage 0.
So that's a normal person.
That's
normal
normal.
liver. Normal liver.
Right. If there's portal fibrosis, that's stage 1, and that's called mild fibrosis. If there's periportal fibrosis and only a few bridges going across, that's stage 2, and that's called moderate fibrosis. If there is portal fibrosis with a lot of these tentacles or bridges going across, that's stage 3. It's severe fibrosis, but not quite cirrhosis yet. It's already distorting the architecture of the liver. And finally, stage 4, the end stage, is cirrhosis, where it's not just bridging from one to another, it's forming a complete circle of fibrous tissue around the liver cells.
Which is what we saw in Severin's case, the 22-month-old.
Right.
Okay. Now, Shane, can I have my next one? These are some pictures from a peer-reviewed article trying to illustrate this,
Okay.
right, Doctor?
So this is showing the Batts system, and by now you're probably familiar with what I've been telling you about stage 1, where it's mostly around the portal area. Stage 2, where there's bridging, but not severe bridging. Stage 3 is where there's a lot of bridging. And stage 4, complete encirclement cirrhosis.
So in general, the more blue you see, the worse they are.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So let's turn to Vanya Diaz. Okay. Did you determine that there were regenerative nodules on Vanya Diaz's tissue slide?
Yeah, this is an interesting slide because it's showing a bit of stuff that we haven't discussed in detail.
And for the record, this is 288-1. Go ahead, doctor.
These are the red cells. The red cells that you're seeing are the hepatocytes, the liver cells. And you're seeing all these clear areas. That's steatosis. That's fat. So the steatosis is the fat that's scattered around it. That's abnormal.
And you've already said steatosis is consistent with hydrazine toxicity?
It's with a toxin, of which hydrazine is one.
Okay, go ahead.
So many of these cells are showing ballooning degeneration. And then also, here's a portal area, and there's a bile duct, there's another bile duct, there's another bile duct. And then we go into another portal area, and there's bridging. This is a dense bridge of fibrous tissue. Again, I'm going to show you all these clear little holes here. That's fat. What happens when you process the tissue, fat does not survive the processing, the formalin. And so it presents as an empty space. So that's what you're seeing here is macrosteatosis, that means big fat cells, and also some little fat cells, microsteatosis. So this liver is really in trouble.
Okay, and I think you were going to show us the bridging fiber or the regenerative nodule.
Yeah, the nodule is right here. This is a nodule right here. Again, remembering you've got a little piece of tissue like I showed you initially, so you cannot see what's cut off here and what's cut off there, and sometimes you have to use your acumen to show what this usually would represent.
So it's your opinion that Vanya Diaz has regenerative nodules?
It is.
Okay. And this just shows one regenerative nodule, right?
Correct.
And this is representative of hundreds of thousands of different parts of the liver?
Yes.
So she has hundreds of thousands of regenerative nodules?
Objection, Your Honor. This is leading.
Well, what would she have, if she has one, let me try to rephrase it, Chairman.
That's the same.
Thank you.
What would she have, if she has one regenerative nodule depicted here, what would she have throughout the whole liver?
This is going to be representative. A biopsy is representative of what's going on in the whole liver. You can't take out the whole liver and then put it back. So you take a biopsy to show a representation of what's going on in the liver.
So if she has one regenerative nodule in this slide, how many would she have in the whole liver?
Hundreds, maybe thousands.
Okay. All right. Now, you said it's your opinion that she had a regenerative nodule, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you look at the independent pathology report from Aurora Diagnostics?
I did look at that report.
Okay, can I have that up, Shane? That's 29328, please.
I agree with that finding. Regenerative nodules are seen.
So he doesn't just see one, he says nodules.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So let's compare Severin with Vanya. We have that, Shane? Okay, and Severin's on the right, Vanya's on the left.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you compare those for the jury?
Yeah. So I'm seeing the nodule right here. In Severin, this particular picture shows the fibrous tissue virtually going all the way around. But again, it's cut off because it's not the rest of the slide. But this is a nodule here. This is one here. This is one there.
Okay, so Severin's worse?
Severin is worse.
Okay, let's pop up the next slide screen. So they both had regenerative nodules, correct?
Correct.
But Vanya's was not as bad as Severin.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And in addition to regenerative nodules, does Vanya have bridging fibrosis?
Yes.
Okay. And when you have regenerative nodules and bridging fibrosis, is that a permanent injury to the liver?
The regenerative nodule is a permanent change.
Okay. Liver can't repair itself?
It tries to repair by making more nodules.
Okay. Okay. And in that rating scheme, if Vanya has regenerative nodules and bridging fibrosis, what would her rating be?
At least a grade 3, but it's cut off, so I can't see what's on the other side. So I could say possibly 3 to 4. There are times when you can't say for sure because I'm not seeing the entire biopsy, so I'm not seeing what's going on over here. So I can say this is at least a grade 2 and maybe a grade 3, or it's a grade 3 and possibly a 4. So I would put that into my report to give the doctor who's taking care of the patient an idea of what he's dealing with, what he or she is dealing with.
So from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, Vanya is either a 3 or a 4 or between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. The worst possible grade.
It's possible, but I can't prove it.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's focus on Carolyn Strong now. And can I have exhibit 4031, which is so this is the pathology report by the Navy people down in San Diego, correct?
Yes.
And what did the Navy people in San Diego find when they did the liver biopsy on December 7th, 2020?
They saw cholestasis, and that means the bile is starting to be stuck in the liver cells and around the liver cells. Mild fatty chain, steatohepatitis, and then they're saying 0 to 1 out of 4 fibrosis. There were also some inflammation that they saw, and they suggest that this is drug-induced liver injury. The term that often is used is DILI, D-I-L-I, drug-induced liver injury. That doesn't mean that it's a medicine that you've taken, it means some toxin. So DILI means some toxin has induced this liver change.
Okay, and again, cholestasis, steatohepatitis.
With fibrosis.
With fibrosis. These are all consistent with hydrazine toxicity?
Correct.
Okay. And you agree that Carolyn Strong had drug-induced liver injury?
I do.
Hydrazine?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, this tissues exam was taken on December 7th, 2020, right?
Yes.
And assuming for the sake of argument that Carolyn Strong first went to the hospital on October 21st, 2020, that would be 47 days later they're doing this tissue slide, correct?
Correct.
So 47 days later, she still has fibrosis that hasn't gone away.
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's go to the next slide, Shane, 4032. So the Navy, and this is what the Navy pathologist found, focal pericellular fibrosis. Can you explain to the jury what that is again?
That just means that there's fibrosis around individual cells. So
Okay.
they're just saying focal, focal means not everywhere, but in some places, some of the liver cells themselves are surrounded by fibrous tissue, which is not good because it's going to affect the function of those liver cells.
Okay, and where does pericellular fibrosis rate on the liver rating scale? Let's have that up, Shane.
It's not part of the grade.
Wait. Okay, go ahead.
It's not part of the grade because the grade is based on what's going on around the portal area and the bridging and the final nodule. Pericellular just means there's been an assault on the liver cell and it's surrounded by a scar tissue. That cell is going to die. So that's the early stage. The late stage is what you see with the grading.
Okay, and how do you rate Carolyn Strong's liver scarring? You.
There's at least stage 1. The areas that are very reminiscent of stage 3 and possibly stage 3. I did not see cirrhosis.
Okay, so she's 1 to 2.
Correct.
That's your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so basically, Severn's the worst with 4.
Yes.
Right? Vanya Diaz is the second worst with 3 to 4.
I would say 3, yeah.
Okay, and then Carolyn Strong is the least worst.
Least, yes.
Okay, but none of these conditions are good. It's all permanent scarring.
Definitely not.
Okay, all right. Okay, now can I have my next one, Shane? 40302. So this is another finding from the Navy pathologist. Okay, did you see this too?
Okay, so edema means swelling. So edema is fluid. So again, if you get some damage to your tissue and there's swelling, that's edema. And so you've seen probably some people who've been standing a long time, their ankles swell up, that's edema. So when you see extra fluid around the portal area, that's portal edema. Bile duct injury is bad because the bile duct is what carries the bile out of the liver. And bile duct injury without bile duct reaction, in other words, he's not seeing, that pathologist is not seeing cells that are responding to this. There's some diseases where when there's bile duct injury, there's some cells that might give you a clue as to what it is. He doesn't see the reaction around it.
So 47 days after drinking real water, she still has bile duct injury.
Correct.
The liver hasn't gotten better and fixed all this.
Objection, Your Honor, leading again.
Well, has the liver gotten better and fixed all this?
Wait, I'll sustain, you can.
Has the liver gotten better and fixed all this?
No, there's still disease present.
Okay. Let's go to the next one, Shane. So the Navy pathologist finds steatosis in approximately 10 to 15% of the hepatocytes with ballooning, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then he also finds rare apoptic hepatocytes.
Apoptotic.
Okay.
That means the cell is dead.
So first of all, steatosis, that's the condition consistent with hydrogen toxicity.
So that's correct. So the first damage causes steatosis, that's the fatty change. And then we get ballooning degeneration. And then when you see apoptotic hepatocytes, those are dead cells. And as I mentioned, when the cells are dead, it's replaced by fibrous tissue.
Okay. And does that suggest a permanent injury?
Pardon?
The fact that it's 47 days later, does that suggest a permanent injury?
I can't say for sure. It means that even 47 days later, it has not recovered.
Okay, sure is the standard here, more likely than...
That I won't comment on that.
Okay.
The hepatologist will comment on that.
Okay, well, let's see what the Navy decided. Next one, Shane. So this is the clinical diagnosis of the Navy pathologist, correct?
Correct.
So they say it's a mixed liver injury pattern, and they talk about DILI, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, they haven't said this is acute liver failure. You're not saying it's acute liver failure either, right?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. But so what they're saying is that there's a liver injury that's caused by DILI, some kind of drug or toxin.
Right.
Okay. And you've already said that you think that's hydrazine, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's have the next one, Shane. Next one. Okay, so this is one of the slides from Carolyn Strong, correct?
Correct.
And again, blue is bad because that's scarring.
Blue is bad. This is a portal area that's sort of edematous. It's got fluid around it and a lot of fibrous tissue around it.
Okay, can you show the portal-to-portal scarring if it's there?
Yeah, you can just see the edge of it going out in this direction up here at about 1 o'clock, starting to extend out. This is too high a power to see where this is going.
Okay, and did you find periportal and pericellular fibrosis here?
Yes, you can see here's a liver cell, and it's surrounded by blue fibrous tissue that's pericellular. This is the portal area, so that's periportal.
Okay. And you graded this what?
1 to 2.
Okay, and that's slightly higher than the Navy person.
Yeah, I think I'm not far off from where they are. They were at 1, I'm 1 to 2.
Okay. And the steatosis, that's in 10 to 15% of the hepatocytes, according to the Navy pathologist. Can you show the jury where that is?
There's no steatosis in this particular
okay.
slide, but I did show you before where those white holes were, where the fat is dissolved out. That's steatosis.
And here's another set of slides. Can you show me some steatosis there?
Yeah, no, yes, there's steatosis is right there.
Okay.
See that empty hole? That's steatosis.
And how about is it
Apoptotic cells.
Okay, thank you.
These are apoptotic cells. You see they've lost their nuclei. So the nucleus is this blue dot that's in the cell, and when they lose it like this here, that's an apoptotic cell. It's a dying cell. So in the progression, it goes from fatty change, ballooning degeneration, apoptosis, and it's dead.
Okay. Any question in your mind that the strong slide shows serious liver injury?
No question.
Okay.
This is, you were asking me about showing the extension from portal to portal area that I couldn't show you on the other area. Here it is going out there. That's definitely bridging. This is a portal area. There's a portal area. And they're showing some bile duct proliferation, which is abnormal.
Okay, where's the first port? Can you show me the first port?
This here's a portal area.
Okay, where's the second one?
This one is here's a portal area.
And where's
right
the bridging?
There. There's another one over there.
And where's
And
the
you can
bridge?
see the fibrous tissue going zigzagging around from one to another.
Okay, and this is bridging fibrosis.
That
It's
is
not a
correct.
regenerative nodule like Vanya has.
Correct.
Okay. All right, why don't we compare all three slides, Shane? So there's Severin, the worst, Carolyn and Vanya, the second worst,
Yeah.
and Carolyn, the third worst.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Here's the steatosis shown better over here. You can see big clear cells. That's steatosis. And here's a lot of it.
Okay. A lot of it in Vanya's slide.
This is virtually, I'd say 80% steatosis.
Would you expect a lot of steatosis where you have regenerative nodules?
Steatosis means you've already gone beyond, when you've got a nodule formed, you've gone beyond just pure steatosis.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can summarize. Okay, so Vanya Diaz has bridging fibrosis and regenerative nodules on the pathology slides. You've already said that. Is that your opinion to a reasonable degree?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, next one, please.
Bridging
And
fibrosis.
You've already said this.
Yes.
Is that your opinion to a reasonable degree of pathological certainty?
Correct.
Okay, next one, Shane. So cirrhosis doesn't get better, not repaired by the liver over time. Is that your opinion to a reasonable degree of medical?
Yes, once cirrhosis has occurred, it's irreversible.
Okay. Next one, and you've already said this, correct?
Yes,
And again, that's your opinion to a reasonable degree of pathological certainty.
correct.
Okay. And I think you've said this a couple times that you've never seen this in a 22-month-year-old. Again, that's the Morales baby.
That's the
from
worst
Salt
I've
Lake.
seen.
Okay, and again, that's your opinion to a reasonable degree of pathological certainty.
Correct.
Okay, and so the permanent scarring for Diaz, and put the next one up, Shane, and the serious liver injury for Strong are caused by a toxin, in this case hydrazine. That's your opinion to a reasonable degree of medical.
That's correct.
Okay, and all the other opinions you gave us are to a reasonable degree of pathological certainty.
That's
Correct?
correct.
Thank you, doctor.
All right, cross-examination.
Doctor, you have a file up there with you?
May sit down.
You have your file with you?
Sorry?
Do you have your file with you?
No, I don't.
You have your report with you?
No.
Did you bring your report?
Yes, but I don't have it with me.
Where is it?
In my hotel room or in my...
And Doctor, you may sit down. Okay.
So I want to talk about your report. Was your testimony today consistent with what was in your report?
Very close, because sometimes I'm able to see more areas that may move me from, say, a 1 to a 2.
Well, let's back up. Who retained you in this case?
Mr. Kemp,
And was part of your retention is that you had to produce a report
yes,
of your findings.
yes.
And this is the report you didn't bring today, correct?
I have it in my, and it's in the file. I'm sure that Mr. Kemp can show you the report.
Sure you can. And your report was prepared when?
I don't remember the exact date.
Can you give me a year?
I can't, because I've been working on this in this area for 2 to 3 years,
How about November 8, 2024? Does that refresh your recollection?
possibly.
Okay. Would you like me to refresh your recollection and show you the date of your report?
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Reviewed slides for Kemp Jones. It's 13 pages, and what is the date?
November 8, 2024.
All right.
Could I just see which report that is?
Sure.
Yeah, I remember this now.
Remember it now?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so this was about, I'm not good, about 4 months ago. Oops. Huh?
Right. Okay.
Okay, so we now, for foundational purposes, have learned that you have prepared a report in November of last year, correct?
Correct.
And in that report, you referenced the 3 folks that we talked about today, Ms. Strong, Ms. Diaz, and someone named Mr. Morales, correct?
Correct.
So my questions are limited to those findings in that report. Do you understand that?
I do.
All right. Now, just so it's abundantly clear to everyone here, Mr. Morales is not a plaintiff in this case, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so let's talk about the people who are plaintiffs in this case, not the 22-year-old baby.
22 month.
Excuse me, 22 months. Ms. Strong and Ms. Diaz, do you have any opinions related to any of the other plaintiffs in this case? For instance, Andrea Bordenave,
No.
Lisa King,
No.
how about Cheryl Nally,
No.
Kathleen Gacias,
No.
Ginger Land Van Buren,
No.
Nicole Chang,
No.
Gary Mono,
No.
Glenn Morris,
No.
Nigel Davis Richard,
No.
Abraham Olvera,
No.
James Delmar.
No.
So let's circle back around to Carolyn Strong. Now, refresh your recollection that you prepared a report for Carolyn Strong, and during that period of time, you reviewed slides, correct?
Correct.
7 slides, correct?
Correct.
And you had findings regarding your microscopic findings of those slides you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that when it came to Carolyn Strong, your findings were that she had mild periportal and paracellular fibrosis?
Correct.
And that the BATS Ludwig grade, when we went through the 1 through 4, it was a 1, correct?
Correct.
There's nothing in your report indicating that she was a 2, a 3, or a 4, was there?
No.
Let's move on to Vanya Diaz. Now, you reviewed 7 slides in that particular case as well, correct?
Correct.
And you reviewed those slides and came up with microscopic findings as well, correct?
Correct.
And you found there was minimal to mild portal, sinusoidal, and paracellular fibrosis, correct?
Correct.
And the BATS Ludwig grade that goes 1 through 4, your grade was a 1, wasn't it?
Yes.
It wasn't a 2, it wasn't a 3, it wasn't a 4, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, as it related to Ms. Diaz, your final pathological evaluation showed resolving acute hepatitis, correct?
Correct.
Looking at these slides and the colors that you see, have you ever heard of the word collagen?
Yes.
What is collagen?
Collagen is a protein that's in cells and in the body.
And like any cells, collagen is also found in the liver.
Yes.
And when you go through a slide and color it, is collagen normally found to be blue?
Yes.
So collagen's blue, collagen's normally found in the liver. And what is the role of collagen in the liver?
It's like the structure behind all tissue.
And where do you find collagen normally in the liver?
You find it in minimal amounts around the portal areas.
The portal areas that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And is collagen the normal way for organs to repair themselves?
If collagen is in excess, it's called scarring, and the scar is the attempted repair. If you cut your skin and you have a scar, it's repaired, but it's not normal skin anymore.
But the collagen disposition is reversible, is it not?
In some cases, but that's not. I would have to see subsequent slides of a liver biopsy over a period of time to see whether there's been repair.
Are you deferring to hepatologists as it relates to whether or not a liver can repair itself, or do you have opinions in that regard?
I would refer to a hepatologist.
So you're not making opinions regarding that?
No.
Okay. In this particular case, is there anywhere in your report where you said that Ms. Strong suffered from cirrhosis?
No.
How about Ms. Diaz?
No.
Do you hold yourself out as an expert in liver pathology?
I've seen thousands of cases over my career. It wasn't my only specialty. I did other things as well.
Right.
And I also attended liver conferences on a regular basis as part of my duties.
Well, are there experts in the field of liver pathology?
Yes, there are.
Are you one of those?
No.
What are you doing now?
Pardon?
What do you do now for a living?
I'm retired from clinical practice. I'm in biotech working on cancer.
Okay, and who do you work for?
A company called Certus Oncology Solutions.
Okay, is that a pharmacological company?
It works with pharmacological companies, but it's not a pharmacological company.
Okay. Based upon the pathology reports that you reviewed related to Ms. Strong, did that pathologist observe scar tissue?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Sure. Counsel asked you regarding slides you may have seen from the Naval Medical Center as related to Ms. Strong. That's where the biopsies came from that I believe you subsequently reviewed?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Did that pathologist observe scar tissue in Ms. Strong scars?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
So what
Did the pathologist?
did the pathologist at the Navy see scar tissue? The answer is yes.
Okay. And was that scar tissue cirrhosis?
No.
Moving on to Mrs. Diaz. There was a pathologist who reviewed her slides as well from the Aurora Diagnostic, correct?
Correct.
And did that pathologist find cirrhosis?
Yes. Not cirrhosis, but fibrosis.
Well, fibrosis isn't cirrhosis, correct?
Correct.
Cirrhosis can't heal itself, fibrosis can, correct? Are you deferring to the...
I'm deferring to the hepatologist.
Does a pathologist reviewing a liver biopsy usually state there's no evidence of dermatitis?
No.
Can a liver biopsy track longitudinally along a portal triad?
Depends on the plane of section of the slide.
Okay. And can you explain that to me a little bit, please?
If you got to think of a three-dimensional structure, and if you cut in a certain way, you might see a longitudinal section of one portal area, and that's essentially it.
And that longitudinal section, that can also appear to be bridging fibrosis, right?
But you've got to make it, the answer is it could be, but you've got to use your expertise and your knowledge to say, is that a longitudinal section or is that bridging?
Right. So the answer to my question is that when you have this longitudinal section along a portal triad, it could give the appearance of bridging fibrosis.
It could, but you've got to look at your slide, and if you look at multiple levels, which I did, not just one picture, if you look multiple levels, because on each slide there are going to be multiple levels, and you can see that there'll be a cutoff in that that it's not one, it's bridging and not one portal area to another. You've got to see the longitudinal section. You've got to see the bile duct going all the way along from one area to the other. If you don't, and there's a break, it means more likely that it's bridging. And I would tell you that any pathologist looking at that would say this is bridging, not longitudinal sectioning.
Well, have you provided any rebuttal reports in this case?
No.
Of other people's opinions?
No.
Have you reviewed other people's opinions regarding pathology?
Yes, I have.
But you provided no opinions or rebuttals of that, correct?
Correct.
The only thing that you provided was your, that I know of, is your 13-page report.
That's correct. And also the report from the original pathologist at the healthcare institution.
Right. So those slides that you were showing of all of the little blue lines that were up here on the screen as Exhibit 10, whose slides were those?
Those are the slides from the hospital that were sent to us. Sometimes the hospital would not send us slides. They send us the tissue blocks and we cut our own slides.
Okay. But the one that showed, I think you showed Well, I guess maybe I'm thinking of the wrong slide. The one with all the blue and all that, that was for Morales, correct?
Well, they all had blue.
Right, but you said there was one that showed spidering and things of that nature.
Well, I thought that all of them showed some element of the extension.
Let's put it this way. You ranked them, didn't you? Between the three?
Yes.
Okay. In your report, do you recall what you ranked Mr. Morales's microscopic findings on the Batts-Ludwig scale?
I said 3 to 4.
Do you recall what you did in your report?
I can't recall, but it's at least a 3, and I said probably a 4.
Would you like to look at your report to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
I want to show on page 8.
3 to 4. It's exactly what I just said to you.
See where it says 3/4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 3 out of a 4 scale, is it not?
Yeah, but if you have a look what I said, if you read,
Yeah.
if you read here, portal and bridging fibrosis with a suggestion of early cirrhosis.
Early cirrhosis. Cirrhosis
Right.
is a 4, is it not?
Pardon?
Cirrhosis
Yes, and that's
is 4.
why I said 3/4, because I couldn't be for sure that it was cirrhosis because it was cut off at the edge. So at least a 3 and probably a 4.
Does it say anything? A 3 and probably a 4?
It says, what do you read there?
Right here.
Yeah, I know. I'm asking you to read what you see there.
Suggestion of early cirrhosis.
Well, that's exactly what a 4 is.
All right, well then let's look at your other analysis. You see where you had your grade there, sir? It says 1/4. Are you
Yes.
saying it's a 1 and a 4? Or is it 1 out of a 4 scale as it relates
That's
to
a 1
Mrs.
out of
Strong?
4 scale.
All
But
right.
if you read the narrative,
Sir, 1 out of 4 scale for whom?
this is strong.
Let's move on. Ms. Diaz. What was your scale?
1 out of 4.
All right, so that's
But
not...
I also said there's evidence of regenerative nodules.
Sir, 1 out of 4. It's not 1 and a 4, is it? It's
No.
1 out of 4.
Right.
Then, when we get to Morales, it says 3/4, correct?
Yes, but I pointed out suggestion of early cirrhosis. As an honest thing, I cannot say, unless I see a complete circle of the fibrous tissue, I'm indicating to the doctor to give him the best evaluation that I can, that this looks like it's cirrhosis, but what I have on the slide is not quite there.
But then again, that particular person isn't a plaintiff in this case, are they?
We're discussing it here.
Sure. The 3 out of 4, 4, 3, whatever you're saying, they're not a plaintiff in this case, are they?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So the ones that we know are plaintiffs in this case, the 2 of the 13, we have 1 out of 4 and 1 out of 4, per your report.
Okay,
Not okay, correct?
correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Less than 2 minutes. Shane, can I have 288-1, please? The Bonnar Diaz slide that's number 33 on page 3. Okay. And so Mr. Johnson suggested that this might be a longitudinal section, correct?
Yes.
Is this a longitudinal section?
I see a portal area over here. I see no bile duct in between, and I see a portal area over here. I see the fibrous going between the two. If this was a longitudinal section, you'd see bile duct all the way along here. So this is not a tangential section. This is a bridge.
Okay, so it's not a longitudinal section.
It's not.
And what he means by a longitudinal section is some sort of error?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, again, leading and
I didn't even finish the question, Your Honor. I had 5 words out.
right up. I'll let him finish his question.
And longitudinal section means what? Some kind of what?
So if you've got a tube of a bile duct and you cut it along this section like this, you'd see bile duct all the way along. If you've got a portal area here with a bile duct here and a portal area over here, you'll see bile duct there, but nothing in between. If it was longitudinal of a bile duct, you'd see it all the way. Here I'm seeing bile ducts, and here I'm just seeing scar. So this is bridging. This is not a longitudinal section.
Okay, and why does the appearance of bile ducts affect the determination of whether or not this is a longitudinal section?
If you're cutting a tube longitudinally, you should see it all the way along if it's longitudinal section. If there's bile duct here, bile duct there, bile duct here, bile duct there, and this is all scar tissue, this is not a longitudinal section.
Okay. All right, and then final question, none of Mr. Johnson's questions changed the testimony you gave with regards to your rating of strong and DS?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just briefly, Doctor, any of the information that you're forming your opinion not available to you when you did your report in November of last year?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Any of the information that you're relying upon to give your opinions today, were those not available to you when you gave your report back in November of last year?
I've done some more reading because of some things that came up that are not related, that have not been mentioned, and I've done some research into toxins, and that's on my own.
But you haven't expressed those here today?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Kemp?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, sir. Doctor, you may be released.
Thank you.
No. All right. And as far as our next witness, Mr. Peppermint?
Your Honor, I'm not sure if we were going to take a morning break before the next witness, or we...
We probably did. We'll see. How are you doing? We'll do this. We're not going to do a time. We're going to go to the men's room and ladies' room and straight back, just in case. That should be stayed 5 minutes. Just quick to the men's room, ladies' room, no time. As soon as they're done, come back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, or report of a commentary on the trial by any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including without limitation of newspaper, television, radio, social media. Remember the prohibition. Last but not least, express or form any opinion on any subject matter connected with this trial until the cause of parties is made. We're just going to take a real quick recess.
Yes, Your Honor.
All rise for the jury.
Jury's heard. Thank you. And before we break, Mr. Kemp, who will be the next witness?
It'll be Carolyn Strong. I think we have a 3 or 4 minute discussion before she takes the stand.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I'll let you talk. I'll
So without the jury.
Yes.
Thank you.